All right. Yes. It's gone.
Yay!
Yay.
So we can see each other again?
Yeah. I still can't do the double screen, but it doesn't matter on my end.
Okay. All right.
So
I can see you. That's all that matters.
perfect. That's all that matters. Yay.
Okay. So here's a few things that I thought that we would talk about.
Okay.
And it was funny, just before I got on this call, I was reading, I love Sally Hogshead, which is she's like
The fascinator.
the fascinator. Yep.
Yeah, I love her too.
And she sent me an email saying, "Hey, Selena, your dormant advantage is the most exhausting form of communication. It's how you are least likely to succeed. And these are being comfortable to open up to almost anyone."
Oh, that's your dormant advantage?
Yeah. So it says, you generally don't hide your opinions. Some may even refer to you as an open book. And in business negotiations that require holding back information, you tend to feel challenged because containing how you feel is typically not a natural response for you. It's like,
That's perfect.
yeah,
That's so
that's true.
perfect. Right.
But okay, so I didn't write any questions. I just wrote a couple of like dot points. The first
Okay.
one I would love to talk about is my like money history and how it affects us.
Okay.
So I'm happy to sort of talk about my story. This is my forcing myself to be a little bit more out there and
Yes.
open.
Love
Um,
it.
so I'm going to tell a little bit about my story, and then I'm going to ask you, how does what we learn when we're children and throughout our lives affect, how we work, our thoughts about money.
Yeah.
I think that might take a little while, so because I think you've got a lot to
Okay.
say about that.
Yeah.
Then also just how simple is the whole manifesting thing? Like we hear about it, people watch The Secret. They think that, there's that bit where he thinks about a Ferrari and it turns up in his garage. Like it just doesn't work like that. So, do you actually have to take action as well? Which we both know the answer is yes, but let's tell everybody else that. And what do you say to the people who have put in a lot of effort, but they're not seeing any results? Not now, before I met you.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So are you happy with those kind of questions?
That is perfect because the only thing that was coming to my mind this week was so maybe in your first question to talk a little bit about, to help people understand any belief block, whether it's money or anything else, is related to our survival instinct, that sort of, comfort zone, how we're wired to like sabotage change.
Oh,
So when we want to make more money, so as long as that's okay with you,
yeah,
that's
that'd
where,
be great. That would be great
okay.
because people would be
So
like, but my survival instinct is to make money.
it's like, no, no, no. Your survival instinct could care less. Your survival instinct only cares if you're alive.
Yeah.
And if it's been keeping you alive in the past was abject poverty, your survival instinct loves it. And making more money means death on a very primal level.
Yeah.
Unless you blah, 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 blah. And then to your later question of the second one, something inspired me there too, but I'm sure. What was the second one?
The part about manifesting. How, like, do you have to actually take any action?
Like I was teaching on that this week as well. Like manifesting, I think a thing that a lot of spiritual people get wrong, a lot of people that get into awareness get wrong is they keep being told, well, your thoughts create your reality, and it's not true. Your thoughts and your emotions do not create your reality. Your core beliefs that are subconscious to you create your reality. It's like your autonomic nervous system helps you, is why we don't have to think to blink and think to breathe and all of that stuff and our core beliefs that we formed in childhood. So I think to your point about childhood is actually where we manifest our reality from. And so half the time, a lot of spiritual or aware, woke people will not let themselves think the negative stuff that's like just below the surface, which is called repression.
Yeah.
And that's why you want to give it a voice and let it go.
Okay.
And see where if it's up here, the superficial thought, if you can get all the way down to really where the core belief is and change the core belief, then you have a Ferrari in your garage. Right?
Yeah. Well, look, I think this is going to be just as informational for me because I realized when I got your bio, I was like, I really did hire you without knowing anything about you. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's jump in before you give all the good stuff away.
Oh, okay.
Is money really holding back the growth of your retail business? Do you constantly tell yourself that you'll order more stock, hire more employees, do more marketing when you hit a specific financial goal? But you never quite seem to manage to get that money in the bank. Well, blending her therapeutic knowledge based in psychology and her metaphysical trainings in spiritual psychology, Jen Pierce is going to come live and dive deep into how money is actually holding back the growth of your retail business. So welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Oh, is this so fun? I'm a little bit nervous because what I didn't mention in your little intro is you are actually my life and business coach. And the funny little story goes, I met Jen at Traffic and Conversion in February 2018. We were sitting next to each other in the bar and we just happened to get chatting, and I was not looking for a new business coach, but we chatted for the whole night. We ended up having dinner together with Monica, my marketing manager, and we got along so well. And then I met up with you and you did a spiritual clearing for me. And even then, I didn't know I was going to hire you. And I flew back to Australia and we had another call. And to be honest, before I even got on that call, I still didn't think I was going to hire you.
Oh, this is good to know.
But I don't know, something just clicked. Something, and it's funny, I got off the call with you and I walked back to my husband. I said, I just hired another coach. And he's like, I thought you were giving up on coaches for a while.
That's awesome.
And I said, but this one just seems right. And in that first 4 weeks, we've only been working together for a couple of months, but in that first 4 weeks, you challenged me to get 2 new clients in a month. And I remember just thinking, I just don't know how. Like, I feel like I am tapped out. But within a couple of weeks, 3 people emailed me to work with me, and 2 of those are now working with me. So the universe sent me the 2 new clients that you told me were completely possible. So thank you for that. And
you did it. Important little caveat there.
You just have to guide me there. Okay, so this is going to be fun, but hopefully there's no tears. I do have a tissue just in case, because Jen's pretty good at releasing some tears in me. But what I want you to share this knowledge with me, because you have been such a help for me in just the few months in just letting go of a whole bunch of stuff. And as a result, my life is becoming more abundant. But I see a lot of these things floating around, you just have to think about it and it will happen. And I know we're going to dive into beliefs, but I want to sort of start right back at the beginning and ask about money stories. Now, for those people who don't know a lot about me, I grew up in, I think we'd call it very lower middle class. Like, we were okay. We had a rented house and we quite often had a car, not always, but there were days when we couldn't afford to go to school because we didn't have enough stuff to put in the lunchbox. We would just have toast for breakfast, toast for lunch, and spag bowl for dinner or something like that. So I always lived in this, we can't afford it. Everything was, we can't afford it. Everything was stressed. My parents were always stressed. They did end up splitting up. And when I was 14, I had to leave home because my mother was not in a position to look after us. And so you actually just asked me a couple of weeks ago, how much of your life do you think you've been, I think you said fighting or pushing or struggling? And I just immediately came back with 95%, which it sounds like such a huge number. But thinking about it, I feel like, for as long as I can ever remember, everything has been, fight to win, fight to achieve. And you really have to work. My parents often worked 2 jobs. So I was looking after my younger brother and sister while they were cleaning, businesses at night and things like that just to keep us going. So how does that money story that happens when you're so young, and does it happen when you're so young? How does what you learn when you're a child affect the way you behave now in your grown-up life?
It's such a great question. I love people's money stories. I find these the most fascinating. And so in general, like any story that we have from childhood, what a lot of people might not know is that they tend to say that we form our worldview about the entirety of what we believe about the world by the time we're about 5. And it's not until we're about 7 that we have the capacity for logic or rationale. So if you think about that, just statistically, we don't have logic before we form our worldview. So as a child, 50% statistically, let's just say, of what we decided about the world is probably irrational. And in energetic work, one of the things that I've noticed through working with clients over the years is that when we're young, our survival, and we'll talk about the survival instinct in a moment, but our survival depends on our parents or our caregivers. So we want them to stay alive as well, and we want them to be thriving and happy. So what I've noticed is that kids will absorb the dysfunctional energy, the discordant energy of their parents when they're young, almost kind of like what I do for you, and you mentioned like the energy clearings, which is essentially like a guided meditation for your viewers. It's kind of like little kids are like little energy transmuters, just like pets are. So if I have anger around a child and the child depends on me to survive, the child is sort of sucking up my anger, filing it away for later, believing if it can take the anger off of me energetically, then I won't have it. And what actually happens is they can't take the anger off of me, not being a professional and doing what I do now. They instead basically just create a replica of that energy, that dysfunction in the world that might get activated later in life as an adult, which is how we tend to notice as adults that we've patterned our parents. Even if we really didn't like that pattern our parent had, we either create the exact same kind of pattern or we totally rebel against it, but it's all fused in this early, really sweet thing where we just loved our parents and we were trying to take their discordant patterns off of them, if that makes sense. And so that's why as an adult it can be so hard to let go of it, because even if you were pissed at your mom, you still love her to some extent as an adult. And so to let go of that energy that you were taking on her behalf feels like you're letting go of your mom to a subconscious level.
And I was going to say, that's the key, isn't it? Sorry, just to butt in, that's the key. Is this is subconscious. You may think that you're okay. You may think that you're, everything's fine and dandy, but we're talking about the stuff that's deeply ingrained. And we are talking woo-woo here today, so just deal with it. This is a woo-woo episode.
Well, but it's important in that regard too, because to let go of a pattern, even though you don't like it, you are nostalgic because you've had that comfort zone of a pattern or conditioning around your whole life, and especially if it's tied to like somebody that you love, your subconscious feels like, well, if I let go of this pattern that I took on from my mom, so she wouldn't have so much poverty consciousness, then if I let go of it, I'm leaving her to her misery, and I'm letting go of her. I'm cutting the cord to her. And so we won't do that. Instead, we will hold on to our parental patterns, and we don't realize that if we let go of the pattern, we're not letting go of the love that we have for the parent by any means. That's got to be hard to separate, doesn't it? The getting rid of, and I don't know if you were talking about my mum there. I don't know how much we've talked about my mum, but that sounds a lot like my mother. So I find it very difficult to talk to my mother. We're essentially estranged. We talk once or twice a year. But it's that whole victim mentality, that whole poverty mindset. Nothing can be done because I don't have money. And, I remember a few years ago, she even started a little business. Her partner works in construction, and she's a really great cook. So she was making all these meals and selling them off so they were nice and healthy, all before those home delivery type things appeared. Wow. And I was so excited for her. I was like, oh my goodness, like you've actually realized that you're great at something. And then the next time I talked to her, she was like, oh no, food got too expensive, so I didn't bother. And I was really disappointed because I was like, one, cooking is something that she loved. And two, money, the whole thing, she spent her whole life struggling about money. And here were people saying, I love what you're giving me, take some money for it. But at the first sign of it wasn't going perfectly, she threw the whole thing in and it was everybody else's fault. And I really struggle to deal with that mentality. It's why I'm very picky about who I work with, because I can't deal with those people. You have to take acceptance for your own situation. And do you believe that you have the ability to change your life? Well, 100%. And what I love that you're talking about, in that idea of taking responsibility for ourselves, it's kind of like, I think a lot of people now believe in the law of attraction, that we create our lives. But it's funny because when you get into it with people, people really are fast to take credit for like the awesome things in their life. But if it's not going well, we're like, well, I didn't create that. It was like a co-creation with the government or whatever, or this or that. I didn't create it. And the irony is that's like the worst thing you want to do, because the moment that you say, you know, something outside of me created this, you're now disempowered. You're now a victim. You've given your power to the person or the institution that is oppressing you. And so only if you say, I'm the creator of the things that really suck in my life, if you say that, then immediately you're free to just change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so it's a really powerful point of view to like even forget about the awesome things in your life. Focus on being the creator of the shittiest things in your life. If I can, I don't know if I can swear.
You can say that.
And the moment you do is your moment of power.
Yep.
Right?
Taxes. That's the biggest one I hear. Taxes.
I think that's why I said the government.
Yeah.
Very like a collective consciousness.
Can I just say, hindsight is a fantastic thing. You know, I can look at some of those really shitty places in my life and realize that if it hadn't have been for those, my life wouldn't be where it is now. And let me just quickly jump in and give you one like really teeny tiny example. I was very close to my grandmother because obviously my mother and I were often at odds in our lives. And she was kind of my mum. And she passed away about 15 years ago. And it was just before Christmas. And I remember getting the house ready for my family to come over. I was in a share house. I was in my late 20s. And I got this phone call to say she only had a couple of days left to live. She lived in a different state. And so I was absolutely distraught. Like that hurt me more than if the phone call had been to say that my mother was dying. And so my flatmate said to me, it was a Thursday night, they said, we need to go to the pub and get pissed. Because that's what you do in your 20s when bad stuff happens. And so they dragged me down to the pub. And to be honest, we sort of started drinking before the pub. We got to the pub and I was almost finished drinking by then. I had to go to work the next day. But there were three of us. There was myself and my two flatmates. And we were playing very, very bad pool because by this point we had all had quite a lot to drink. And this man came over and he said, oh, can I play doubles with you? And we were like, yeah, sure. We're not very good. Anyway, I ended up chatting to that guy for a while. I went out for a date with him on the Saturday night. So that was Thursday night. On Saturday night. 3 weeks later, we got engaged. 4 months to the day after, we got married. And we just had our 14th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
But through all of that, my grandmother did pass away just after Christmas. But he was there for me. And that, I always say that she sent him to me because she just wanted me to be happy. You know, there was a lot of kids, but she just wanted me to be happy. And, you know, who takes that on when you just literally met somebody in the pub and they're so distraught because their grandparents dying? But he was there every day. He would turn up at my house, just making sure I was okay. He'd take me out for dinner. When I flew up to Queensland to see her, he was checking in with me every day, and I knew he was a keeper after that.
Oh, that's amazing.
But had I have not got that phone call,
yeah,
I would never have gone to that pub. And who's to say I ever would have met him?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, so, that's powerful.
So you have to take responsibility for the bad stuff as well.
Right. Yeah. And, to your point earlier, like kind of regarding money, I think a lot of people don't understand, but they immediately intuitively connect to it when it's verbalized to them. But they don't understand that we are literally wired to sabotage ourselves. Like for all of your viewers that have any kind of goal, mm-hmm. or they have any kind of desire for self-improvement in their business or with money, what naturally happens is our conscious mind, which is really only about 12% of our entire consciousness.
Wow.
So for example, to talk about that, which is something that a lot of people don't understand, they understand the only label of conscious and subconscious, something mm-hmm. that you're not aware of, but pretty much 88% of your entire consciousness, you do not have access to directly, you're not aware of, and it's not just in your mind, it's also your cellular intelligence, it's your body's memory. So like a dancer memorizes steps.
Yep.
Right. So that's that kinetic memory. Our autonomic nervous system we don't have to think. We don't have to go into our mind to blink or to breathe. And similarly, scientists understand that we store memory in all the cells of our body. So our body has not just memory, but images and phrases and vast stores of intelligence that we can access. But in general, we operate our lives from just 12% power. And so, for example, when somebody wants a new life goal and they're working towards it, their conscious mind is totally on board. And their subconscious mind is also where we store our primal instinct, our survival instinct to just stay alive. Mm-hmm. So if that gets threatened by the change that our conscious mind is like full speed ahead, what happens is, it's a lovely thing. It's not a negative thing, self-sabotage. It's actually purely because if we're operating in one comfort zone and we've had a habit pattern of relating to money for years, like you mentioned when you were young,
yep,
that it was always this story of I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. So if you tell your conscious mind, hey, I can afford it now, your subconscious, your survival instinct immediately feels that if you start to say you can afford things, you're going to die. Which I know sounds quite dramatic.
Why? Why would we think that?
Think about it in this sense. It's quite outdated, right? In modernity, it's totally outdated. But in, like thousands of years ago, if we literally had to run from a tiger, mm-hmm. and we knew that if we ran through a briar patch that scraped us up every single time to get to a food source, we didn't die, but it was really uncomfortable, right? So that's like you're growing up and you're getting all these poverty ideas and limiting beliefs, but you know that at the end of that, you don't die. And so if you hire me and we turn around and we say, okay, let's now go through the lavender fields of like abundance, that seems great, but to your survival instinct, it's the unknown and it knows the tiger won't eat you over here, but it's not convinced the tiger won't eat you over here. And all it cares about is your survival. So no matter how cool that idea is, it will shut it down every time. And because it compromises 88% of your intelligence, 88% will always trump 12%.
And so does that also come into account when you've associated subconsciously, or what's the other word you said, the other conscious?
Your body's intelligence?
Yeah, like your cellular consciousness, where you have associated that with the pain that you need to go through to get to the reward. Like
right.
You're talking about running through the thorns to get to the food. And you're saying, if I show you an easier way, even though in your mind you're like, yeah, I want the easier way.
Right.
Your body's like, oh, no, it's actually really, really hard to get there. There is no easy way.
Yeah. Your ego wrapped up in this is very, very clever and will give you lots of various little justifications and lies to tell you why, if it sounds too good to be true, it is, right? We have all these cultural sayings as well.
Yeah.
And so if you think about it too, it's kind of like trying to turn a cruise ship of whatever your mindset you're working on is around with 12% power. Mm. And so a lot of people, and that's where, I was mentioning this earlier, a lot of people, it's very popular lately to say, well, we create our reality through our thoughts or our emotions.
Yep.
But we actually don't. We don't create our reality from our thoughts. So when people get like hung up of like affirmations, and I just have to think positive, and like you were saying, like a Ferrari will like be in my garage.
That's from The Secret. If anybody's seen The Secret, he thinks about the Ferrari and then he opens the garage and it's there. And you're like, and when that doesn't happen, you think, where's my Ferrari?
And I think what they miss out on in that, like now, which has become like mainstream, like consciousness, is that you actually create your reality from your core beliefs, most of which are totally subconscious to you.
Those ones that were formed quite earlier on.
They formed quite earlier on, and you can access it if you really dig deep, or through different modalities in psychology or energy healing. But yeah, your thoughts. So like it's created this new culture, after something like The Secret, where people are very paranoid to think anything that is negative, to the point that they don't realize that that's actually hurting them too. Because if you are having these cyclical negative thoughts and you just sort of turn a blind eye and try, like you were saying earlier, you're fighting not to go there.
Yeah.
The irony is it's not coming from your core belief system at all. And you are starting now to repress that negativity. And if you repress that and you don't give it a voice, it goes into that 88%, and that's where you create your reality from.
So when it comes to manifesting, like it is the big rage at the moment. It seems to be that everybody is saying if you're putting the effort in and you're not seeing results, it's because you're not manifesting them. But do you see that same, let's say with the Ferrari, do you see that same thing happening? Because you're exposed to a lot of this, where people are doing a lot of thinking, but then there's nothing happening. And is that the result of maybe not taking any action?
Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. Right. Because so if you're taking action, then something has changed enough in your core belief in that subconscious that it's allowing you to take different action. So that adage of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity is totally true.
Yeah.
So if you've finally given yourself permission to interrupt a prior habitual pattern, and now you're going to go do something different, that's the action that I would talk about, right? That would start to change, that actually tells you that some work that you're doing, some self-development work that you're doing is starting to work, because one core belief, all it takes is once you go from 12% and 88% about something, and your subconscious now believes, the other, I'm terrible at math, 33 or whatever it is, so that it's 51% now believes that you're abundant.
Yes.
Then you have the Ferrari in your garage. Then you see in your external reality, everything clicks.
Yes. So let's do a little example here. Lots
Sure.
of people, a little business example, lots of people won't do marketing. Lots of retailers that I meet are fed up with marketing. They feel like they've spent the money, whether they've advertised in the newspaper, and anyone who's been around for a while, that's usually what they say. We advertised in the local paper, and I'm like, local paper is dead. You realize that local paper only comes out once a week now. Anyway, they've advertised in the local paper, they've done their flyers, maybe they've boosted some posts on Facebook, but they don't see any results. So therefore, their whole belief is marketing is not worth the effort. What would you say to them to try and get them to change not just this part of their mind? Do you think that the reason that their marketing maybe didn't have any effect was because of that 88%? Or is it just the fact that maybe you just did the wrong marketing at the wrong time?
This is a great question, because I like to say in business, so there's a concept in life that everything is either love or fear. I think there's a concept in business that anything is either action or alignment. Alignment being mindset, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're taking the wrong action with this, which this person would be if they're advertising in the newspaper, then you have the wrong business model, you're taking the wrong action, and you might have an amazing alignment at first. You're super excited about your new business. Yep. You have a lot of abundance energy flowing, but you're taking the wrong action.
Yeah.
And so it fails. And over time, from taking the wrong action, what happens? Your confidence goes down. Your ability to take responsibility for it not working goes down. So you kind of start to say things like, marketing is crap and it doesn't work and it's a waste of time. Or you start making it mean something personal about you, where you're like, I'm just not meant to do it. Selena's amazing. She can do it, but I can't, right?
Yeah. I'm not a marketer. That's what I hear all the time.
But yet, so at this point, maybe you hire, then they hire you and you're like, well, here's your problem. You haven't done the steps in the right order. And so you start to do the steps in the right order and it still doesn't work for them because they already did it wrong and their confidence now is completely gone.
Yeah.
So their alignment is so out of whack that after they have the new business model and they have the new steps to go or during, they really need to work on clearing the belief that they're not meant to do it, they can't do it, it doesn't work.
I've tried this before.
Deal with. What's that?
I've tried this before. Lots of people have said, I've tried this before, and it's yeah, but you didn't try it this way. You tried a bit there and a bit there. One of my clients was just saying to me the other day, we built out some marketing funnels for her, and she's like, "Can you build me a chatbot? Can you do this? I was like, "Well, we can do all those things, but I don't do them now, just here and there, because we need to have an idea. We need to have an umbrella. Where is all of this going to go?" And one of the things that I learned the hard way is just doing a bit of marketing here, just doing a bit here and a bit there and a bit of this and a bit of that is if you don't have that overall plan, if you don't have that overall, nowadays we'll call it a marketing plan, but I just had no structure back in the day. And then I wondered why it didn't work. Well, now looking back, of course, I can see, well, because you did 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there and a flyer here and a flyer there with no overall strategy. And if you would have put all that into a strategy, then now you can see why it works.
Yeah. No, I think that's really powerful that if you don't have a campaign, I see this all the time. So you know me, I very much promote creating your business offline before you take it online, because when you take it online, it has to be extremely focused and niche, and all of your campaigns, everything you do online, in my opinion, should be that 80-20 rule. And maybe if you're brand new online or selling online, it should be 100 to 0. And in the sense that everything that you do can be monetized. It should have a clear campaign, a clear path. So if it's the opposite of that is just content marketing, it's just brand awareness, it's just, feeling the need that you have to keep attached to people through a newsletter or through an Instagram post, or in my industry through inspiring quotes, on Facebook. And nobody cares. This is the funny thing that I coach other coaches and I get passionate about lately, where, people don't care as much as you might think about you.
It's about them, isn't it? It's about the transformation in them.
It's about them. They care what you can do for them. They have a need. And so I think a lot of people get hung up on, well, how should I do this? And what if I'm going to be perceived wrong and all of these things? And at the end of the day, nobody cares. They only care if you deliver something of value that they need.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe sometimes that inspirational quote is exactly what they wanted to hear today, what they needed to hear today. But 9 times out of 10, it's kind of not, right?
Well, and also, even if it is what they need to hear today, if you're new in business, your first rule should be to keep your business doors open so you can continue to inspire people in the future, which means you need to make money. So your first goal has to make money. So if that inspiring quote literally does not convert to dollars, then do it later, right? So people tend to, what I say, for coaches, build your coaching practice, build your coaching business, and then build your coaching empire. But because the coaching business and empire is more glamorous, right?
Everybody wants that first.
It's more about speaking gigs and workshops and, cool photography and all this stuff. Everybody goes there first and totally skips creating a practice where they have clients that pay them lots of money.
And that was one of the things that I just want to go back to that part about going offline, because I know a lot of people, look, if you're listening to this on the podcast or if you're listening to it watching it on Facebook, the fact is you're probably online. Whether you've got an online store or you hang out online, you're clearly online. And the people with a retail store, a physical shop front, they can often find it difficult to get online. But what I have found is even harder is the people who are online taking them offline. And one of the things that you've pushed me over the last couple of months is to just get out of my office. Just go anywhere. I don't care. I think you wanted to go to 2 a week. And I'm like, this is Australia. We don't have 2 things on a week. But I've been just going to meetups. And do you know what? It's really nice just, getting out of the house and talking to people again. And not necessarily even going there to find new clients, but just going out there to just have conversations and be inspired again and, see what's going on in the world, because I got a beautiful big window in front of me, but there's a whole world outside. But it's so easy to sit in front of the computer and, sit in your office and just pack orders or, type up content or upload things to your website, when you actually forget that part of life is actually enjoying being around other people.
And it's so good too, because no matter what people are doing now online, you have to kind of become a digital marketer.
Yeah.
Right. Like the conference where we met at. And so if you are only at home doing digital marketing in an introverted way in your office, you lose that human connection of going through a sales process. Yeah. And the irony being that online, if you're really successful online for a e-commerce shop, for whatever your audience is doing, they have to be able to replicate the human natural progression of sales online. And if they can't do it offline, and if they've lost that muscle, because what I say too is people forget that offline is so much easier in terms of certain industries, in the sense that, like, when you meet somebody in person, like you and I met in person at a bar, had dinner, spent the whole night together.
No, we did not spend the whole night together.
No, that sounds wrong.
We are both happily married.
No, but like, you turned into a hot lead, right?
Yes.
From just,
you weren't looking for that.
Year. What's that?
You weren't looking for that. You weren't there looking for a new client. You were there for the conference.
I was there for the conference and to enjoy myself. And the irony is, though, this is also a spiritual thing, that I always set the intention to only attract those people that I'm meant to serve, only attract the people I'm capable of serving in some way. Mm-hmm. So if my intuition lets me know this might be someone, then I follow it. And but, like, to my point, though, like, when we met in person, that immediately turns, like, you in that sense into like a hot lead, right?
Yeah.
Versus what people do online is they forget that it's completely cold, and it takes 6 months to turn somebody possibly into a hot lead.
Yeah.
So if you're just opening your doors and you're putting offline business aside, you're gonna have to wait about 6 months. You need some capital.
Yeah.
To support you while you build whatever you're building online, because it's going to take a long time, and then it's quite scalable. And yes. In the interim, people can just be, they can go back to how it used to work.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talk about in Module 3 of Scale Your Store. Just to vaguely call it like the customer journey. It's not what we call it, but essentially just knowing how to get people from, not knowing about you to buying from you. And like you were saying, that can be 6 months, sometimes even 12 months if you do it online. But if you go to a local Chamber of Commerce meeting, if you go to a local meetup and someone says, hey, what do you do? Oh, I sell these beautiful, bone china mugs that people, they're just beautiful. People love giving them as gifts. Oh, it's Mother's Day coming up. Where can I buy one? Bang, sold. Didn't cost you a thing.
It's so fast.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. So a lot of people are saying it's all good and well for you two because you've got each other. What's like one what's one thing that you can help people with today if they're like, you know what, I am feeling stuck. I have been putting a lot of effort in. I don't feel like I'm seeing the results. I can help them with the action that they take, but you can help them with the stuff that's inside of the body. So what's one thing that you would say that people can go away and do to align those two things together?
Well, one of the things that I would recommend, so I practice 2 energy healing modalities in my practice, customized to the client. But if people learned about EFT,
that's tapping.
Which is tapping. It's colloquially called tapping. It stands for EFT, stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. Mm-hmm. Without necessarily having to go out and hire their own coach, where the scripts are customized to them, there are so many free EFT tapping scripts on YouTube.
Right.
So one of the things I would look up, and I'm trying to remember his name. Maybe I can give it to you after, and you can, put it like in the comments. Mm-hmm. But he has online so many EFT tapping videos that are on a range of different scenarios.
Yep.
So that's one thing I would recommend. Another thing that I recommend is a process just called freeform writing. And that's where you're going to take what, like the example you gave, they're like, it's not working. This is, they're struggling, and they're becoming probably very aware of their negativity, and it's just not going anywhere.
Yep.
And so if they don't have somebody to speak to, if you put all of that negativity pen to paper, you let yourself curse, say how it really is, however you feel, you write out the good stuff too. I mean, if you keep writing and writing and writing, then you don't want to type this. You will probably start to feel lighter. You'll start to feel some of it lift. Mm-hmm. And then you take those pieces of paper out of a journal and you burn them. Like for me, in my little balcony, I have like a little aluminum can that I got from Home Depot, which is a store in the States.
Yep.
And so whenever I do freeform writing, I just take the pages immediately and I burn them. And part of that as a ritual is also so that you start to really be vulnerable in the pages. You really start to lay it out what it is, because nobody's going to read it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to burn it. And then the idea too is that you're also sort of releasing it. And it's a clarifying exercise for your subconscious to really let yourself know, okay, I gave it a voice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let it go, right? So it's not operating anymore in my thoughts. And it's not, and we're getting towards the root of getting whatever the block was out of my core belief. So I would recommend to like your audience that to also get very creative and analytical and maybe get a girlfriend or their husband to help in the sense of how is the challenge that they're challenged by now, how seemingly unrelated is it to maybe their childhood, to a friend, to a loved one. If they can connect the dots and it won't be obvious, that's helping them go to that core belief.
Okay, I am smiling here because we did not talk about this beforehand. And one of the little woo-woo things you did for me the last time we had our call was you asked the spirits to help me be a little bit more clairvoyant. And in my head just then, I was like, the things you're talking about are great, because yesterday I challenged people to earn $1,000 in the next 7 days, to get creative and challenge themselves. And you just said, if you're having difficulty with, working out what the challenge is, that you can use this process. So there's a whole little cosmic woo-woo binding it all together. So if you haven't yet taken the challenge, make sure that you go and jump over to selenaknight.com/breakthrough. You can see our video, which I did yesterday as a Facebook Live, the number one way to get a cash injection in your store by the end of the week. And then if you're having difficulties with this, I'm going to pop over and put a little email in there with Jen's suggestion about this freeform writing. Just get it out, put it out there, put it on some paper, and then go and burn it. There's the key part. I think a lot of people would freak out about that, but I think that safety and when you said it, I was like, oh, I don't know why that makes me feel a little bit weird, but that makes me feel a little bit weird. So maybe I need to do a bit of freeform writing, but nobody's going to see it. Nobody has to know. You don't have to put it on Facebook. You don't have to put it in the group. You don't have to do anything. This is all about you just letting that stuff on the cellular levels, just get it out and get rid of it. So thank you so much for that.
Well, and I love that you bring up, you don't have to put it on Facebook, because I hadn't thought about how, much that we're now a branding culture, that everybody, whether they have a business or not, is creating a brand by being on social media. So I think as a society, we're becoming really dissociated with how things really are internally.
Oh, that's why I hate Instagram.
What's that?
That's why I hate Instagram. I know Instagram's important, but I feel like every time I go there, I feel so inadequate because, I see Instagram stories and I'm like, guys, I literally sat at my desk all day, apart from going to the bathroom, having some lunch and walking the dog. I got nothing to tell you. You don't want to see a picture of me. I don't have this glamorous life sometimes, but then I go into Instagram stories and I feel bad that all these people are, jet setting or having coffee, and I'm just like, you just make me feel bad about my life.
Well, and that's the facade they present, but the irony is, to the extent they're successful with all these photos, they're probably sitting at a computer having the exact same daily experience as you, putting together their Hootsuite plan for all the photos to be run out on Instagram that they took in one weekend trip. If I took a picture right now of my desk, those pictures of a desk with a cute coffee cup and
you don't want to see my desk.
Everything arranged perfectly. It's nobody really works at a desk that has marble and.
Okay, so I'm just going to show people reality. Now, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'll try and snap a picture. Behind me, you see this beautiful wall. What you don't see, and I'm going to flip this around, is that's my desk over there.
I love it.
It is not Instagrammable, and this behind me, it just lifts up to reveal.
Okay, so do you want me to do the same?
Yeah.
This is really fun for your viewers, right? So here is sort of my studio setup for the online course I'm designing. It's not completely done, but at least it looks okay.
Yep.
Versus here's where all my studio equipment lives, and it's random kind of junk. And there you can see my closet's not closed. My husband has an exercise bar there with a bunch of books that would just not look cute to my viewers, right?
Yeah. The Instagram reality, people, don't. This is why I struggle. We're completely getting off the subject, but this is why I struggle with Instagram. And you're always you've got to be out there and a bit more vulnerable. And I'm just like, but I can't do that fake. I had to put some makeup on this morning. It's 7:00 in the morning.
Sure.
I had to put some makeup on, but this is why we have this, because I can just whip that down off the wall and I feel okay. But,
Yeah.
Don't choose Instagram. Let's go back to where we were, which is if you are having those doubts, if you're having that, feelings of inadequacy, if you're struggling with a challenge, if you're struggling with anything in life, take some of Jen's advice. Just go and get a bit of paper. You have to write this though. Is that correct? You can't type it.
With your hands, like on paper. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to go and write this down. Just let it out. I'm guessing it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be perfect sentences.
Oh no, it can be whatever you want. It could be doodles. It could be whatever you want. Technically, it could also be things that you do want to come into your life. So at the flip side, after doing that and then burning it, you could write again all sorts of affirmative. This is what I want. This is what I want. I want the $1,000 challenge, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. And then you go and burn it too. And it's that manifesting. You were talking about manifesting earlier. When I burn something positive, I think about it in the sense that I am conscious of what I want even more, and I'm releasing it to be manifested, to be created.
Okay, so that's again just the intention that you're setting, because we're all woo-woo here today. The intention that you set when you burn that piece of paper is maybe if it's negative, it's like I'm releasing these things to be free of them. But then if it's a positive, I'm releasing them so that the universe can send them back to me.
Yeah, I'm manifesting it. Right.
I'm manifesting it. All right. Well, thank you so much for this. We could talk for ages, but if people would like to know more about who is Jen Pierce and how they work with you, where can they find you?
They can find me at jenniferpierce.com, which is soon coming. It's a new website of mine. They can find me at a past website of mine called Life Coach Jen Parsons, which was my maiden name. They could also find me at guidedcamino.com. My husband and I, we lead retreats in Spain on a pilgrimage called the Camino de Santiago.
Wow, I didn't even know about that.
Oh, really?
Okay, and if you want to make sure that you keep up to date with the Retail Breakthrough series, yesterday we had the number one way to get a cash injection in your store, and we talked a lot about how money is holding you back. Jen's here to give you like part 2 of that. And on Friday in Australian time, we are going to be talking about the number one thing that you're avoiding and how it's literally costing you half of your week. So head over to selenaknight.com/breakthrough and you can make sure that you stay up to date with everything that we have happening over the next 2 weeks. Thanks so much. Bye. Thank you. That was excellent.
Oh, good. Was it?
Yeah. Did I get enough of myself in there? I felt like I was overriding the conversation. And
you were very vulnerable. That was awesome. I loved where that went. The one thing that came to mind that I was like, how could I squeeze this in? And so maybe this would be something to give your audience somehow. But one of the things I find fascinating, like when you were mentioning about the doubt and the kind of who am I to do this? All of that stuff is that we are so alike in that. Everyone thinks the same, inadequacy stuff. Mm-hmm. And what we also are very alike in as just a species is that universally we think those negative inadequacy things, and we universally think we are the only ones who experience that.
But we're not.
But we're not. So the irony being that we think we're all the same, we think we're all different. We think other people have their shit together. And we all think that. We're actually alike in that. And that's part of the problem.
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of people get, where they get that comparisonitis is they forget Marie Forleo still has to go grocery shopping, still has to pick up a dog poop, still has to go to the hairdresser, still has to do all of those things. But maybe she's got people to help her pick up the dog poop. But at the end of the day, she still has to get up. She still has to have a shower. She still has to eat a breakfast. She still has to get groceries, all those kinds of things that we have to do every single day. And I'm sure she has the same insecurities that everybody else has when she's launching a new product. Yes, she's got the results to be able to say, well, in the past, these are the results we've had, so this is what we can expect. But every time that you put yourself out there, there's always a chance that it might not work. Yeah.
And everybody's hyper aware of that, right?
Yeah. And we focus sometimes too much on that.
Yeah. You're amazing on camera. I love it. This is fun.
Oh, thank you. I actually did a little blog post I do some paid blog posts for a company, and I did a trifecta of business risks you should take. And the last one was think bigger than big and, don't let playing small hold you back. And you just said something that was part of that. And now I can't remember.
Oh, no. It is 7 a.m. for you. I was like, with Monica, I'm like, we could have done this at 4, 5.
That's okay. This is actually good because I've got another call. Like I got another couple of calls today, even though it's Saturday, because launch is coming up. So this will be going live on my Wednesday.
Exciting.
So I'll make sure that we send you the link and everything. But if you could send me, there you go. Like you need to have some of these own tappings before you launch your course. Got my marketing hat on. You have to have some of these own tappings, so you can say to people, "Well, I've done a free clearing for you, or a free tapping where people can go and." Because now we're sending them to somebody else's page.
No, so like when I launch my course, one of the bonuses, depending on when people buy it, will be that they get like a free month or 2 or 3 free months in my membership, which will be like, or more like an inner circle, not just the Facebook group.
Yeah. Where
every month I'll be doing an EFT and a clearing on a group topic for consultants and coaches.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do another podcast. Like once all of this is launched, again, hearing to like what I coach, where you actually were bringing this up too, like the power of focus. When you were saying like you were doing this, throwing spaghetti at the wall and that's what didn't work.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, the power of focus of like, when you're offline, just be completely offline. And I'm like the biggest example of that, where I just, I am totally pretty much offline. I mean, I have a private Facebook.
Yeah. And if you're going to have an online course, you have to get a little bit more online.
Right. But the funnel of the course will immediately generate like the followers and the people and and then it makes sense in that empire stage, in my opinion, to build it, but not really before.
Yeah. Because you're focusing on the thing, on the money first.
Right. Exactly.
Which is where we're going.
How are you doing? How's everything going?
Yeah, everything seems to be going okay. I don't know. I sort of feel okay with I've got my number of, I would like 20 people to buy the course at the full price.
Yes, thank you.
So
please, minimum.
I just don't know if I had the numbers, to be honest. Like I don't not think that it's good and that it won't sell. I just literally don't have, 20,000 people on my list. So we've done a couple of hacks. One is, even though my affiliate site, which we had on the old site, but because the course has now changed, we haven't had a chance to rewrite all the swipe copy and stuff. But I did a podcast with someone a couple of nights ago, and she's like, if people love you, they'll just send out your URL with their referral link. Like, don't worry about the swipe copy. Just ask them to send it out once. And, even if that just gets 10 more people in. And so we're going to do that. And the other thing was, I've got a couple of meetings tonight with people to run my Facebook ads, which I'm finding a little bit, because I've always done them myself.
I was going to say, do you have a Facebook ad funnel that leads to the webinar?
Yeah. So we've been running ads at the moment to a lead gen that always is really successful, which is then the thank you pages follow me on Facebook. So because these will be Facebook Lives. So, on top of all of that, we've been trying to throw them onto Facebook as well as get them in the list. The email goes out about the series starting, so that goes out tomorrow, that the series is starting. Click here to make sure that you don't miss a thing. We've got the schedule, a graphic with the schedule coming up. But this is where I find it quite difficult, is I'm trying to do all of this content and run the ads at the same time. And I know that in the past, I perhaps haven't had the best ad campaign because it's a lot of effort running Facebook ads, and I'm sort of doing it. A lot of these things have to be done on the fly because you have to you do the Facebook Live and then you run the videos and blah blah blah. But you need the video first before you can actually run the ads. And so I've got a couple of calls tonight with Facebook ads people to see if they're able to start, because it would have to start like Monday. But I did get a hater. I got my first hater on Upwork for that job.
Hey, you've made it.
I know. So I'm really funny. My job descriptions are like, I always use a really clickbaity title. So this clickbaity title was, I don't think Facebook advert experts actually exist. And I've used that same title for copywriting. And in fact, that's pretty much the title I always use, because people are like, damn you, they do, and then they open it up and they read the job description. And it just goes on. It's a little job description that just says, like, we do it in-house. In the past, we've brought other people in. And whilst we have seen results, we've never seen those skyrocketing results that everybody seems to claim to have, blah, blah, blah. We are looking for somebody, but we're not desperate. If we have to keep it in-house a bit longer, we'll do that. And this guy wrote me this email that was like, fuck you. I hate people who write fucking ads like yours because you don't know what you're doing on Facebook. You aren't leaving things long enough. You're just doing what all the gurus. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Wow.
Dude, like, I know, but clearly, like, it's a very innocuous ad. It pretty much just says, we do it in-house. We've hired people in the past. Whilst we've seen results, they've never been, those fancy pants results. We're still looking to bring somebody in. If you think that this is the demographic that we target, they can be quite hard to reach. If you think you can help us, please reply to the email. But yeah, this guy was just like, I was like, dude, are you like a little bit like threatened by my job description?
Well, let me ask real quick, because I know we'll talk about it next Wednesday, but you do have, or you're going to create a funnel that is a Facebook ad to, hey, the webinar, which you've already filmed, do you want to come on the webinar? Here's 2 times. Evergreen.
The webinar's not filmed. The webinar will be live.
Oh, okay.
So there's Q&A and, yes, there is. And those will be based off, so we're doing video view campaigns for the Facebook Lives. Okay. And then we'll do just generic, get the workbook, take the challenge, earn yourself $1,000 in the next 7 days. Can you do it? Get the PDF here. And then we'll do the same thing for the webinar. And then I'm also planning on the day before the cart closes to do another live encore webinar. So it won't just be a repeat, it's an actual live.
But at some point you want to have, or let me find out if you want to have a webinar that is evergreen, that is running twice daily, like 5 days a week, that people can watch and buy.
Yeah, not for this launch. No.
Not for your launch. Okay, so maybe like in June, that would be starting.
Yeah, because this launch has a lot of extra bonuses that they won't get as a result.
When you roll it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So things like, because we're doing what we call a live round. So after the cart closes on the Saturday, we start live on Monday as a group together. Whereas when that's evergreen, they won't get that. So I'll be saying, hey, we'll be starting on Monday, blah, 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 blah. So, but I will re-record that same webinar without those extra bits after this launch.
Okay. And then make it evergreen. Okay, yes. Great.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yay.
Yay.
I just wanted to be clear because I was like, wait a minute, you're not in perpetual launch, but no, just a month.
No. So
it's going to be huge. 20 people minimum.
20 people minimum.
Remember,
and then I don't know
if
I don't know if I talked to you about this, but I worked out a plan, which was, remember I had the self-study, which was cheaper and I was worried about the pricing and everything, is I'm not going to offer the self-study on the launch. On the Monday when the course actually starts, we do it live. I'm going to send out a 24-hour email saying, we've just had the most fantastic kickoff, blah, blah, blah. If you couldn't afford it, you can do the self-study version. It's a 2-pay of $400 over 2 months. It's only available for 24 hours. And then if you want to upgrade for the next live launch, you can upgrade at a later date and come and join us live. So I'm going to do it's almost like a second chance.
Yeah. No, that's smart. That's smart for those that person dragging their feet.
Yes, yeah. So here's my magical May is I'm going to win that trip to New York. I don't know if it comes. I don't know when it's announced that who does it, but I'm going to win that trip. I'm going to have one new $3,500 client.
Yes.
And I want 20 sales.
I love it.
So that's my May.
$7, right? That's a deal. They get it for $797?
No, it's going to be $1197 for everything.
Okay.
And then $797 for that self-study.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
One thing I'd suggest, go write down where you're going to spend the money from 20 times $1197.
Well, I've already kind of started that. I haven't, which was my friend Gina, she does all the courses. She said that I should offer them as my bonus, the second, the cart's closing bonus, should be a ticket to my live event. And I said to her, but I don't have any live events. And what about all the people in the US? And she goes, well, you come to America anyway, just work out a date and just commit to it. And so I think I will do that. So I said to my husband yesterday, when I have this money, I've got this money. So it's not really an issue. I think we should go in like the September school holidays, but I'll have to go and check if there are any conferences or anything on, because I would like to try and do that as well. If we're going all the way over there, you want to go to a conference or something as well. But then I also have to work backwards for the next launch, because I want people to have completed or at least gone through most of the course so that they can still get the ticket to the live event. So, yeah. So
I definitely not stress yourself about that. If it, because what you don't want to have happen is to have that now and then not have enough people at the live event.
Yeah.
In 6 months and like stress to fill a room. But yeah.
You got a furrowed brow over there.
Well, just how, kind of how I was mentioning, right? You build a practice and then the business.
Yeah.
And then the empire. Like an empire, you're definitely doing live events because you have so many followers that the moment you say, hey, I'm going to be here in September, you've got 20 people that will be there.
Yeah.
And so, and I think because it's complicated, so I'm probably just missing something, but as long as you would be able to know that you could at least get 20 people, if you go all the way to the States, that get this bonus, as opposed to 5 people get the bonus and then you're scrambling in August and that 5 people haven't completed the course, and you're kind of putting more pressure on yourself than needs to be, and more money gets a lot, outlay for live event. There's the overhead. You want to present your branding in one way.
Yeah.
My furrowed brow is only to make sure that you don't overextend yourself, because live events are hard to get out of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we don't have to make that decision until after the cart's already opened.
Oh, good.
It's not set in stone. So
yeah.
So maybe we'll just see how we go in those first couple of days.
You're gonna kill it. It's gonna be so cool.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. And I will send you an email when it goes live, but we'll be talking next Wednesday anyway.
Yes, I'll look for it.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, Selena.